crush your enemies.
They drew first blood, not me.
See them driven before you.
Oh, my user.
And hear the lamentation of your women.
But I pity the fool.
Glitter in the dark near the 10-house gate.
Phone home.
They're here.
Oh, real light sleeper, child.
Welcome to Vintage Video, where we're rewatching the 80s so you don't have to. We'll be reviewing every major film release of the 1980s in chronological order, overanalyzing what you've seen and spoiling what you haven't. I'm Patrick O'Reilly.
I'm Jesse Bayless.
And I'm Richard Wells.
And today we're discussing The Beast Within, released February 12th, 1982. It was written by Tom Holland and Edward Levy, directed by Philippe Mora, and released by MGM/United Artists.
Tom Holland?
Not that
Not
Tom
that
Holland.
Tom
He's not
Holland.
even born yet.
Author Edward Levy, or Levy, was working on his second novel and shared the title, The Beast Within, with his publisher. Those 3 words alone were enough to entice film producers to buy the rights to the story. Unfortunately, by the time they needed to be handing off the finished novel to a screenwriter to adapt it to the screen, Levy had yet to turn in any pages, having blown past his own publisher's deadlines due to marital difficulties. Consequently, screenwriter Tom Holland was given simply the title to adapt into a film, with instructions to involve some sort of human/beast transformation scene.
Wow.
But not a werewolf, because they've
There's
already
too many werewolves
We've done
out there.
that, so... But do something like that. Audiences love that stuff.
Edward Levy, or Levi's eventual novel, essentially became a novelization of the screenplay since he was asked to work from Holland's finished script.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great. It practically writes itself.
It's like I had an outline. They didn't just pick that title out of the ether. Too bad. You took too long, so someone wrote your book first. Do you guys recall the last time that a novel was adapted from the script, but is often mistaken as the original work? It was written by Dean Koontz.
I mean, I remember discussing this, but I don't remember the movie.
The Funhouse. The novelization was written by Dean Koontz, but it was based on Larry Bloch's screenplay. But people think that the movie is an adaptation of the Koontz novel. The French title of this film translates to The Entrails of Hell,
Oh.
while the German title translates to The Angel Face, 3 Nights of Horror.
What?
That's dumb. Theaters made barf bags available to members of the audience. I think that's not a terrible idea. The film's visual effects follow in the footprints of contemporary horror flicks, with extensive bladder effects and facial prosthetics like the ones we've previously seen in The Howling and An American Werewolf in London, and the same technology would go on to appear in Demons, Fright Night, Evil Dead 2. This film's effects lead, Thomas R. Berman, is currently nominated for my Re-Oscar category for his work on My Bloody Valentine. On a budget of $5 million, The Beast Within scored an eventual box office of $7.7 million. Screenwriter Tom Holland has, as recently as 2014, been talking about plans for a remake, but nothing much has come of those announcements. We see the opening credits on a dark night sky as a full moon rises slowly into frame.
Already have a problem. One of my opening title nitpicks.
Okay.
All of the names and credits are centered, except for the credit for John Dennis Johnston and Ron Soble, which are left justified with a second line indent.
That's very weird.
I was like, John Dennis Johnston, it says John Dennis, and then Johnson is down, but then indented slightly, but both names are left justified instead of centered.
Very weird. A sudden bass line in the score reminds me of Betty Davis's death scene from Burnt Offerings when the chauffeur throws a coffin across the bedroom at her. Crickets begin chirping, and we see a newlywed couple, Eli and Caroline, leaving a gas station at night with a dog in the back seat. The man inside told them to turn right just before the sign to Nioba, Mississippi, if they want to get to Jackson. I tend to ask for directions what I should turn after.
Yeah.
Not what I should turn before.
If you see
That's
this, you've
super
gone
helpful.
too far.
Yeah. What should I see right before I haven't gone too far? That's much more helpful, sir. A song playing on the radio is basically a Johnny Cash sound-alike, but at first I assumed it was Cash's relevant song, Jackson, which starts, "We got married in a fever, hotter than a pepper sprout. We been talking about Jackson, ever since the fire went out, oh, I'm gone to Jackson. Turns out the song on the radio was written and is being performed by Ronny Cox playing Eli here because he's a musician. Remember we saw him play music last?
Deliverance?
That's right. He's one of the dueling banjos. The title comes up and tells us this is Nioba, Mississippi in 1964. We get a quick glimpse of an abandoned farmhouse, and somewhere in the basement, a creature breaks its chains loose from the wall. We see the newlyweds driving on a dark country road, and when they lean in to kiss each other, Eli notices they've passed the sign they were supposed to turn before. He tries to hang a U-turn and sinks his tires in the mud off the road. Eli decides to walk back to the gas station and phone for a tow, and leaves his new wife here with their dog in the car. We see a pair of reptilian legs creeping along in the woods, or the swamp, or whatever this is supposed to be.
I mean,
It's pretty dark.
they're not reptilian.
They look reptilian. They're green and stringy and weird.
And yeah, they're monster legs, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think based on what we know about what happens in the movie, they aren't reptilian.
The dog, Thor, starts barking, and inexplicably the woman opens the door to just let it out into the woods. Within 30 seconds, it's caught up with the Sleestack-looking creature, which breaks Thor's neck and then hurls the dog into the swamp.
Okay, if I'm left alone on the side of a dark road
Mm-hmm.
with a dog in the car, and the dog is freaking the fuck out, there's no way in hell I'm opening that door.
Yeah, the dog is your last line of defense
dog-
before
the
someone
dog-
gets into the car.
Right, the dog is going to protect you. Keep the dog with you. Also, whatever the dog's barking at, you don't want the dog to either get or to get the dog. Like, what is she doing here?
You know what they say? If you love a dog, let it free. If it dies, you were meant to die also. When Caroline finds the dead dog, she screams and runs away until conking her head on a branch and knocking herself unconscious. This is something we'll see multiple characters do. Pretty impressive that would happen twice in one story. The creature finds her there and kicks her legs wide open before ripping her clothes off and raping her here in the mud. Actress Bibi Besch playing Caroline was actually rushed to the hospital after this rape scene because of the extreme temperatures in which she was required to be fully nude for so long.
I imagine low temperatures.
Yes, very, very cold, because this is actual exteriors. They're not shooting this on a soundstage. When Eli returns with the tow truck, Caroline is nowhere to be found, and venturing into the woods, he screams her name to the darkness. First he finds Thor, and then his wife, also seemingly deceased, but when he lifts her, she groans in his arms, so he carries her naked to the road. If I were this tow truck driver, I might assume this guy did this to his wife before he came and found me.
Right?
I wouldn't be like, oh no, something terrible happened to your wife after you left? The driver wraps her in a blanket and rushes her to the hospital. As the tow truck drives away, we hear what sounds like 3 gunshots ring out in the night. Like
Yeah.
I hear like bang sounds.
No, they're definitely gunshots.
But what is that supposed to be? Just the tow truck backfiring?
No.
I don't understand why we're hearing these gunshots here when he's supposed to be out in the middle of the woods.
I think they're trying to kill him.
Oh, okay, so
They're shooting
but
at
who
him.
is doing that?
Well, whoever had him locked up in a room that where he's no longer locked up probably went after him.
Okay, I guess.
It's unclear as to the specifically who,
Yeah.
but there were definite
Just
gunshots.
like someone we haven't been introduced to and never will be is firing
Well,
a gun somewhere in a
I
direction.
think there's several people in this town that know who he is
Yeah.
and what and
And so they're just shooting into the woods, hoping to hit the right thing.
Well, they're probably in pursuit of him.
that's what I was imagining.
But my money would be
I
on
feel like we should have had one shot of anyone in pursuit of him before we heard these gunshots. We get another title card informing us we have jumped 17 years into the future and all the way to Jackson, Mississippi. An X-ray of a human skull slides into frame, and Dr. Odom, sitting across the desk from Caroline and Eli, tells them that their son has some mysterious chemical imbalance, and they'll need to do more tests and keep him on IVs. These X-rays were actually taken of actor Paul Clemens' head, with metal strips taped to his head to resemble the abnormalities in the scan.
What? That seems unnecessary.
Yeah.
But it's fun because you're doing damage to your brain for the part.
Right?
Eli insists that his son was perfectly healthy days ago, and the hospital must be doing something wrong. The doctor admits that he worried it might be some sort of genetic issue, but his tests on both parents turned up clean. Caroline turns to Eli and vaguely recommends that they come clean about their son's true parentage for the sake of his health. Eli clearly doesn't want to talk about it and escapes into the hallway. I think it's weird that between the two of them, the one that's more embarrassed about what happened is the guy who just doesn't get to be the dad.
Right.
Not the woman who was raped in the
Yeah.
woods.
First thing we got to do is get him the hell out of here and someplace where they know what they're talking about.
Can't just wish it away. We can't just go on pretending it never happened. 17 years ago, I was attacked, and nothing's ever gonna change that fact.
Eli is not willing to surrender his claim as Michael's biological father, but Caroline says that more tests could save his life if they tell the truth now. A nurse on the PA system pages Dr. Van Helsing, so maybe this is kind of a strange hospital. We cut to the boy, Michael, sweaty, being rolled into a room on a gurney. We dissolve from the boy's pained facial expressions to an open field, probably a dream. Michael climbs the steps to the porch, and the front door of an abandoned-looking farm opens itself in front of him. It was very reminiscent of the empty farm that Brad Dourif enters in our minisode review of Wise Blood, but I checked it. It's not the same house. It's just very, very similar looking. Inside, he finds a latch in the floor, and something struggles beneath it. Michael grabs his head and screams, and we see a quick shot of someone throwing a person down this trap door into the basement. Michael wakes in the hospital and turns to look at his mother Caroline and accuse her of leaving him here tonight. She insists they will stay close by. They're leaving, but only to help solve a mystery and to help him get better.
But they are also leaving their son who
They
is
are.
dying.
And they don't both need to go.
And I don't know how long they're going to be gone. I mean, presumably Jackson's not too far from this place, but they're going to be gone at least throughout the next day because they're going to go to
investigate
places that are
Yeah.
open, and they
Yeah.
will be open
They don't need
this
to leave
evening.
before the morning. Yeah.
So it just seems weird that she wouldn't stay with him as long as she possibly could. Your kid's dying.
Yeah.
And they're also going to have to like call the hospital constantly. Like, we're staying at this hotel.
Yeah.
These are the places that we're going to be. So please call us if something
Anything
happens.
changes, yeah.
Even Michael thinks he's dying, and Caroline assures him that won't happen. We hard cut to the same Nioba sign on the side of the road, but it's aged 17 years somehow in the intervening 17 years. They drive through a foggy country town past a general store resembling those we've seen in films like Friday the 13th Part 1 and 2 or Mother's Day, but the town looks relatively quiet. Eli parks outside the courthouse and rings a bell for assistance inside.
Hi.
Well, hi there yourself.
I'd like to get some information.
Well, honey, you come to the right place. I'm just about.
While Eli speaks with the courthouse staff, Caroline visits the local paper, the Nioba Outlook, and asks to see some back issues of their publication. She claims to be a novelist from Jackson in search of information on a local case. The man inside, Edwin Curwin, played by Logan Ramsey, doesn't think he'll be much help, but he points her to his archives and lets her dig. Back at the courthouse, Eli speaks directly with a judge in a courtroom. Eli asks about an assault case 17 years back, but the judge needs more information.
What kind of assault?
Rape.
Rape?
Maybe it wasn't described that way. I'm interested in any possible act of violence, any memorable behavior.
The judge, without consulting any paperwork or documentation, tells Eli, "Can't think of anything off the top of my head. 17 years ago? Nope. No assaults."
Nope.
In the newspaper archive of the Nioba Outlook, Caroline finds an article with the headline, "Lionel Curwin Murdered Last Night," with a subheading about Sheriff Brand investigating the case. She pulls out the copy and tears off the front page to fold it into her pocket. Edwin at the front desk tells her he's going to lunch, so she needs to leave, and she does. When they meet at the car, Caroline shows Eli the article about the dead man. Back in the newspaper archive, we see that not only did she tear the cover off the newspaper, but she left the torn paper sitting on top of the open box on the desk. She didn't cover her tracks at all. The newspaper guy runs to the office of the judge next door to inform him that someone here is investigating a cold case they both seem well aware of.
I know. But she ripped out that whole front page, all about Lionel. Who's that with her?
Well, if you used to give me odds, I'd say it was her husband.
Now, you didn't tell him anything.
They watch Eli and Caroline through the blinds. Edwin leaves to warn locals Dexter and Horace not to cooperate with these people. Eli and Caroline head to the police station to speak with the sheriff. When they enter the sheriff's office, he's on the phone, and we catch the tail end of a bizarre conversation.
Oral sodomy, huh? Well, that's why it's a small town.
Oral sodomy being the legal term for any flavor of oral sex, apparently.
Oh.
Oral sodomy, they call it. They call him Sheriff Brand, but the new sheriff, Bill Poole, played by L.Q. Jones, corrects them.
Poole. Bill Poole. Sheriff Brand retired in, 65.
Well, could you tell us where we can find him?
He passed on in 69. You're just a tad late.
They ask Poole if he knows anything about Lionel Curwin's murder for research purposes writing a novel.
First off, Lionel Curwin was a son of a bitch, if you'll pardon my French, ma'am.
Poole says Curwin was torn to shreds the way you might expect from a large animal, but then the same animal burned down his house, so probably not an animal.
Yeah.
Back at the hospital, Dr. Odom hears an alarm in Michael's room and finds that he's pulled off all of his monitors and left the building. Good thing nobody's checking up on this.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't it, like, I mean, I guess it was good that an alarm went off.
At all, yeah.
Yeah.
Eli answers a call from Dr. Odom and learns of Michael's escape. Somehow, Michael has acquired a vehicle and drives through town at night, still freaking out and sweating a lot. A title pops up labeling this The First Night. Michael's eyes drift shut and he swerves off the road into a ditch. He seems, by sheer luck, to have stumbled upon the abandoned farm from his dream. This time, he has to open the door himself. Inside, he finds the same latch on the trapdoor in the floor and makes a deal with whatever creature is down there, forcing these visions into his head.
Will you let me sleep? You have to promise me first.
Michael pops the latch and throws open the trapdoor. He lights a match to show the voice the path out of the basement, and then creeps down the steps into the darkness. Bizarrely, nothing happens here, and we jump right to Michael arriving outside the home of Edwin from the Niobe Outlook. Edwin is on the phone with someone complaining about a late delivery. Edwin tries to let his dog Coco in the front door and finds Michael standing there and his package on the doormat. He mistakes Michael for the delivery boy and invites him in. Edwin counts out the cash to pay Michael, but he doesn't leave when he has the money. Edwin digs a half-pound of ground beef out of the delivery box and then just molds it with his hands for a while. He talks to Michael about ways to prepare the meat and then massages what looks like ketchup into the beef in his hands, though the bottle looked more like barbecue sauce.
I think it was Worcestershire.
Oh, okay.
But what I like is, like, first, like, he's complaining about his delivery, and then he's kind of insulting Michael.
Yeah.
And this is, hey, you look really hungry. I'm going to make you a burger.
Yeah.
It's like,
such a weird turn.
It's like, oh, well, this is super nice of him.
I took it less as nice and more like he's coming on to this kid because the kid's not leaving and he's a very creepy guy.
But his burgers are going to be terrible because he's working the meat too much, and you shouldn't do that with hamburger. It's going to make for a tough burger.
How do you like yours? I like mine raw. Makes waiting easy.
This is a man after my own heart. This is how I like my meat because I don't like to wait for it. So just give it to me however you found it in the freezer. I'll just chomp on it for a while.
That rare chicken is always the best.
Yeah. Just like in an RPG, if it's rare, it's better.
The S tier stands for salmonella.
The only thing better is legendary chicken. Apparently, Ramsey was improvising almost everything he did here, and Paul Clemens said the hardest part of this entire film was not laughing at all his ad-libs. Edwin opens the door to let Coco in, but he can't find the dog. He can hear it barking, but he can't find it. I don't know what we're supposed to assume here because we can hear it barking.
Right.
It's not like the kid killed it and he can't find it.
Or I think the dog is just afraid to come back into the house.
Oh, maybe that's what's going on. Michael's face starts shivering and we hear the strange harmonic vibration of chirping cicadas.
What's that? No, it can't be. Not this time of year.
Edwin assumes it can't be cicadas because it's the wrong time of year, implying that these sounds aren't all in Michael's head. Michael goes all growly like the Hulk and attacks Edwin, tossing him all around his own living room, and then he leans down to chew open the man's neck, and we get all these inserts of the raw ground beef littering the man's corpse. We cut now to a nearby home at night, where a girl we'll come to know as Amanda Platt is cleaning up plates from dinner. We hear the barking of a third named dog in a span of like 30 minutes. This one is Dipper. The girl feeds Dipper a bowl of leftovers. She's startled by the sudden presence of a man outside her home. It's Michael, and he collapses to the grass. We hard cut to a local hospital, and the local doctor, Dr. Schoonmaker, played by R.G. Armstrong, escorts the sheriff, Eli, and Caroline in to see their son.
He's sleeping peacefully now. I think it best we don't disturb him.
We look at Michael's face, and his eyelids flutter as he flashes back to the murder he just committed. R.G. Armstrong tells the sheriff that the Platt girl found him in their yard. Caroline thinks the boy looks better than he did at the big city hospital, and they credit Schoonmaker's local hospital, but the implication is that a meal of human blood has done wonders for him. The next morning, outside the courthouse, the judge approaches a parked hearse and speaks with the local mortician, Dexter Ward. Dexter points out that Edwin has not opened his offices for the day, which is unusual. Judge Curwin goes to check Edwin's home and finds him in a bloody heap on the living room floor. Caroline and Eli are prepared to collect Michael from his hospital bed, but he's not interested.
I want to stay.
Stay.
I don't know. I like it here.
Doc Schoonmaker, Eli, and Caroline are called out of the room by Deputy Herbert to speak with the sheriff. As soon as they leave the room, Michael hops out of bed to wash up in the bathroom, and we cut to him arriving again to Amanda's house. She's happy to see him doing better, and he thanks her for saving his life on the way to asking her on a date. She agrees to go on a walk with him, and he wonders why she doesn't already have a boyfriend.
You're beautiful. Don't you know that?
It's because there's like 5 people in
Right.
this whole town.
Yeah.
I doubt her father hasn't told her this. Michael sees Dipper barking at something, and the girl, Amanda Platt, tells him it's Black Pine Bog, and nobody goes down there.
Not even to pick blackberries.
Wow. Not even to pick blackberries? Sometimes, forbidden places, you just gotta pick blackberries there.
Are there any blackberries actually down there? No.
No, that's why. That's actually why they don't.
Nothing better than a bogberry.
Bogberries. That's what we call them. They look a lot like human toes, but we call them bogberries. Michael asks again why she doesn't have a boyfriend, and she assumes it has something to do with her overprotective father. Michael guesses correctly that her father, Horace Platt, is a cousin of the long-deceased Lionel Curwin.
I think everyone in this town has got to be cousins.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Maybe that's why none of the boys find her so attractive. I'm related to you very directly. Another chorus of cicada chirps makes Michael collapse to the ground, and Amanda offers to call Dr. Schoonmaker. Michael shakes off the attack and assures her everything is okay before kissing her. They begin making out while lying in the leaves until they're interrupted by Dipper, who drops a dead human hand on them.
Whose hand is this?
Well, one of the 36 bodies that they're going to find in Black Bog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But all of the bogberries have been plucked off of it. Hours later, the couple are showing police where Dipper found human remains when Amanda's father pulls up, angry to find her here with a boy.
What you doing here, girl?
We was just taking us a little walk, Pa.
I'll give you permission.
Horace warns Michael away from his daughter. Eli asks if Horace is always like that, and Sheriff Poole explains he's usually much meaner. And further, that Horace once caught his wife cheating on him and killed her and her lover. Eli asks why he's not in jail for that, and Poole explains that Judge Curwin is his cousin, so it's fine.
They blamed it on Andy Dufresne.
Yeah. Michael's parents march him back to the local hospital for more bed rest. Caroline takes Michael away, and Eli hangs back to help the police continue digging, and just becomes a cop for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like...
He just magically became a cop.
Everywhere they go.
He's like leading the investigation.
He's interrogating people.
Yeah. Finally, one of the characters says, I'm not talking to him. He's not a
who
cop.
is this person?
I was like, yes, thank you.
Another title card introduces The Second Night.
Also, I have to point out Ronny Cox's ridiculous coat.
Yes.
It's
pretty great.
It's like an almost fur coat.
Yeah. Hours after sunset, several police simultaneously discover more human remains at the dig site. Sheriff Poole decides to bring in reinforcements to learn the extent of this mass graveyard. After a while, they've discovered nearly 40 bodies in this swamp.
What do you think?
I don't know. Could be an abandoned graveyard, an Indian burial ground, Civil War common grave, or some murdering nut sneaking in here and burying his bodies.
Maybe so.
Dr. Schoonmaker is presented with one of the femurs they discovered and identifies it as Emily Oldenburg. He insists that he installed this replacement hip joint himself. Sheriff Poole recalls the woman's burial and finds it hard to believe her corpse could have made it all the way here. Even more disturbingly, The bones appear to have been gnawed on.
Well, I don't know how like, I get it that, like, you might have only put in a certain number of, like, joint replacements, so you probably remember them, but, like, you can't guarantee this isn't somebody else's hip unless you're, like, that doctor that was, like, leaving his initials on people's insides.
They do sometimes put numbers on these things, but he doesn't, like, check it against a directory. I think it's just a situation where it's like, I recognize this model, I only did one of these, and I did it for Emily Oldenburg. And they were like, what's a name that sounds like an old person that would need a hip replacement? How about Oldenburg? That's good. But I think he's recognizing it more from the hips because, I mean, if you knew Emily, holy shit. Them hips.
That's why she needed a replacement.
Yeah. Schoonmaker suggests a chat with Dexter Ward, the local undertaker. He also mentions that Dexter wasn't the undertaker when Emily was buried.
Who was? Lionel Curwin.
Dexter Ward is not cooperative with the sheriff, insisting he's too busy preparing Edwin's remains for his funeral. The police ask if it's possible Emily's body was taken before it was buried, and Dexter says no. After a few of Eli's questions, Dexter stops answering, claiming to be insulted. And again, who is this person? Why am I answering his questions? Sheriff Poole thinks it's time to find out who or what is buried under Emily Oldenburg's headstone. We cut to a town drunk named Tom, just as Michael shows up to speak with the man. Tom somehow recognizes Michael as the MacCleary boy from the family who just showed up to town. This isn't where Michael lives.
Yeah.
Why do you know Michael's full name? You're the town drunk. You should barely know your own name.
Don't you recognize me, Tom? Billy Connors. Look in my eyes.
Oh. You stop that.
Michael, as Billy Connors, tells Tom he's come back from the dead to get his revenge on the entire Curwin family. We cut back to the city mortuary, and Dexter Ward is on the phone with Judge Curwin asking for a payment to leave town. He has a bad feeling about how Sheriff Poole's investigation will go. After he hangs up, Ward continues working on the remains of Edwin until he hears a sound. He moves around the mortuary to investigate and eventually finds that someone has moved Edwin's body while he was out of the room. He assumes there are teenagers here screwing with him until Michael shows up and attacks him with some of his own embalming tools.
So first, yeah, he finds the body like lifted up into a sitting position.
Right.
And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you." So it's like, is this like a common thing? Like,
yeah.
Like, and then so he goes into the back room, and there are 3 gurneys with bodies, and he seems to forget which body it could be hiding somebody, because you would know if you saw 3 gurneys with 3 bodies. It's like, wait a minute, there were only 2 bodies in here earlier. So he has to do like the reveal. It was like, it shouldn't be a reveal for you.
You should know which ones of these were occupied a second ago.
Yeah, and plus one of them is clearly moving.
Yeah.
But also, like this, like they keep saying what a quiet town this is. Why are there so many dead bodies?
Well, obviously we had one die this morning, but like, where are these other ones coming from?
I think one of these he just keeps around.
Oh, God.
Oh, no. Yeah, because it's a very young woman.
Yeah. Do you guys recall the last time we were really annoyed that someone couldn't recognize who was under a sheet in a mortuary?
Westworld? Or not what the...
Oh, no, that's a good one, though.
Yeah, that is good.
That's more recent than the one I was thinking of. So I think you win. And actually, now that I think about it, I think they also did something like that in the arena when they were trying to hide in the underground catacombs.
Yeah.
But there was something further back than both of those.
Okay. Oh, what about the one where they were harvesting people?
It's not Coma.
Coma. That's the one I was trying to think of. Yeah.
This one, I was mad because what they were looking for wasn't even humans. And you could tell from the feet sticking out that they were not humans. But they didn't even bother to check.
I don't know.
They were orangutans.
Was it Going Ape?
It was Going Ape. When they're like, where did they go? And it's like, those are ape feet.
Yes.
Those are ape feet behind you. Do you think apes died in this county today? Michael jabs the man in the neck with some kind of a tool that's either withdrawing fluids with suction or injecting chemicals into Dexter's bloodstream. Back at Emily's gravesite, Sheriff Poole has discovered it's filled with stones in place of her body. Do you guys recall the last time we saw a body stolen from its grave and replaced? I can think of 3 examples.
Oh, God.
I want the movie and what it was replaced with.
Okay. We have The Wicker Man.
Right.
And it was a hare, a March hare.
Those are hares.
Those are hairs.
Demonoid? Messenger of death?
In that one, it didn't get replaced. The body just got out of the grave.
Okay.
One of them is a slasher, and then one of them has some supernatural elements to it. The slasher takes place in a college town where a certain dance has been banned for years.
The Prowler?
The Prowler.
Oh.
They replaced a girl's body with another girl's body. They
Right.
found the girl's body in Rosemary's grave, and Rosemary's body was dropped into a chimney.
Okay, yes.
And then the last one is the supernatural one.
Okay.
And they're trying to find a woman's dead husband, but when they open up his coffin, there's not a dead husband in there. There's a bunch of live animals. Not ringing any bells?
No.
No.
Chickens? Coffin full of chickens?
A coffin full of chickens? We saw a coffin full of chickens?
Yep.
I don't remember a coffin full of chickens.
Was it...
The chickens were a clue as to where her husband's body had been taken.
The chickens were a clue? I have no idea.
Deadly blessing! Because the color of the chickens indicated which farm they came from, and they went to the farm and found that the woman had dug up the lady's husband and was using him as like a painting model.
Oh my god, I feel like I've blocked that entire movie
Yeah,
out of
I
my
don't
brain.
remember any of that.
Sheriff Poole drives straight from Emily's grave back to Dexter Ward's workplace, and of course they find him deceased.
Oh, God. Lord save us. He's been embalmed. Alive.
Caroline races to the mortuary to inform Eli that Michael is gone again. They suspect that he's with Amanda, and the sheriff thinks Horace will kill him if he catches them together. We cut to Amanda's bedroom, and we see Michael just walking around her while she's sleeping in the bed. He picks up a snow globe, and it looks like he's going to, bash her head in with it.
Exactly.
But he doesn't do anything. And suddenly downstairs, Michael's parents are knocking at the door. Horace answers, and they ask if Michael is here, but Horace thinks that's impossible.
What the hell you want? Is our son here? Jesus Christ, get the hell out of here.
Upstairs, they hear her scream, and everybody races to her bedroom. Eli and Caroline get to Michael first, and he claims he was here to protect Amanda from whatever murderer left all those bodies in the swamp. Horace is ready to kill Michael here and now, but the sheriff and Eli get in his way. Everyone but Horace and Amanda leave the room together, and Horace shouts another promise after them.
I'm gonna get that bastard. I'm gonna kill you!
Alone with his daughter, he slaps her hard, and then he holds her close to apologize. Doc Schoonmaker takes a look at some of Michael's x-rays and notices similar subcutaneous formations to those called out by the previous hospital. The next morning, Eli wakes Michael to inform him that they are returning to Jackson today. It's not up for debate anymore. Michael steadfastly refuses to leave, and Eli prepares to physically drag him out of the bed when Michael responds with the most hurtful comment he can think of.
Get your hands off me!
Michael, don't talk to your father like that.
He ain't my father. Billy Connors is my daddy.
What? What did you say? Why did you say that?
I don't know. The words just slipped out. Just leave me alone. Please just leave me alone.
Outside the room, Eli is shaking with the realization that Michael has known this whole time that they weren't related biologically. Judge Curwin stops by the sheriff's office to mention that the mortuary, like the newspaper yesterday, is all closed up with no sign of their only employee.
He's dead, Judge. Who did it?
That's what we're trying to find out.
The judge is well aware that all these victims have been members of the Curwin family, as he is, and he advises the sheriff to call in reinforcements from the state police if need be.
Now, at what point do you stop being a member of a family when you have a different name?
Never.
How many generations of marriage names changes?
Yeah, I don't know the rules.
But
this is Judge Curwin.
These are all Curwins by name, though.
Well,
aren't they?
no.
Dexter Ward.
Dexter Ward wasn't.
Oh, okay.
And Platt. And Horace Platt.
When the judge leaves the room, the town drunk Tom comes racing out of the drunk tank to tell Sheriff Poole that Billy Connors is responsible for the deaths. He insists the man is back from the grave.
It was Billy. Only it wasn't Billy, it was the boy. The MacCleary boy come back as Billy.
Tom,
Why don't you get some breakfast?
In the hospital bathroom, Michael makes pained noises and takes off his shirt to inspect himself in the mirror. He finds a long bruise down his spine. He speaks to the creature from the basement from here.
Oh, you promised.
Sometime later, Doc Schoonmaker notices the bandage on Michael's back and asks what happened.
What's that bandage?
It's nothing.
Well, nothing you don't see.
I told you it's just a scratch.
Now, you never know. Might get infected.
So he bandaged himself up?
Right.
It's really difficult.
Yeah, that's a tough spot to get at.
He's pretty talented.
You have to like lay it on a surface and then just kind of flop your back onto it.
But we also don't know how many limbs this guy has.
That's true.
How he could reach back there. When the doctor tries to inspect the wound, Michael throws him hard against the wall. Outside, the town drunk encounters Eli and Caroline and tells them their son is possessed by the spirit of Billy Connors and they need to stop him. Hearing the name again sets Eli off because he assumes this is the man who told Michael Billy was his father.
There's a little detail here. Dr. Schoonmaker's sign outside of his office says R.G. Schoonmaker.
Nice. He kept the same initials.
Yeah, because like they never mentioned his first name,
So he got to pick it.
Yeah. But then Eli goes, "You stay away from me and you stay away from my son." It's like,
you can bother her, though. That's fine.
Yeah, it's like, my wife is fair game. But...
Sweetie, hang out with this Tom guy for a second. Inside the hospital, Eli finds Schoonmaker bleeding on the floor and helps him back to his feet. Tom runs full speed across town to a hydroelectric dam for some reason. What are you doing?
And why is there a hydroelectric dam powering the small town?
I don't know. Very strange. Tom has barely hidden for a few seconds before he's discovered by Michael/Billy, who was just in a hospital bed all the way back across town the other way with his parents in the room with him. Apparently, this was an old hiding place from when they were kids, and Tom didn't expect Michael to retain all of Billy's memories. Michael chases Billy up to the roof of the dam and then throws him over a ledge where he crashes down on a transformer, throwing sparks all over the place. All sparks. Transformers jokes. Autobots roll out.
Stop.
Tom's death takes out the electricity to the entire town, which in 1982 affected almost nothing during the day. Like, I think they noticed because, like, one refrigerator turns off.
Yeah.
But none of them have lights on or computers, so nobody gives a shit that the power went out. Eli and Caroline ask Doc Schoonmaker about this Billy Connors character. The doctor says he was a beautiful boy, very graceful but strange, kind of like describing the boy as beautiful. He had a reputation for speaking with animals and insects, and Caroline says their son had the same reputation. The power comes back on, and Sheriff Poole enters to announce that Tom's body has been discovered, and they need to speak with Michael immediately. Did you already fix the dam? That was real quick.
Yeah, well, once you clear the body off, you just hose it off.
Oh, is that how it works?
Turn it on and off again. You're good.
You used to be the body hoser at the local dam, right? Is that why they called you the body hoser? I hope so.
Well, they call me the body hoser.
Oh, yeah, because it was just over the border. The third night. Amanda is in her kitchen chopping up ingredients for dinner when Michael sneaks up behind her. She's terrified her father will find him here and urges him away, but he insists for her own safety that she must leave town. He struggles with her and causes her to cut her own finger with this sharp blade. When she gathers how serious he is, she agrees to leave. Michael assures Amanda that she is one of the killer's targets, but stops short of explaining how he is so certain.
Now, are the nights relevant?
No, not at all.
Like,
just
did I miss
counting
something?
stuff.
Okay.
It's fun to count. The third night. She should be piecing this together, though. It's crazy that she's not figuring out, oh, this guy looks like a maniac, and there's also a maniac in town killing people. And he tells me that the maniac is going to kill me next, and I better run. And he's right here. And he won't come with me for some reason.
He was in my room.
Yeah, we caught him there yesterday after a bunch of murders. She steps out of the room for a second, and Michael starts drinking the blood she left dripped all over the counter. Because she went upstairs instead of leaving, he follows her up to yell at her for still being here.
I warned you to go.
What?
I warned you. I warned you to go, Amanda.
Michael?
Amanda!
Every time he has one of these psychopathic cicada freakouts, she runs right up to him to ask what's wrong instead of fleeing for her own safety. She's like inches away from his face. Are you okay? What's going on? Why are you freaking out?
Why are you all sweaty? Why are your teeth completely different?
Yeah.
And covered in my blood.
That's the only way you could tell when he's being Billy is
Yeah.
the color of his teeth and like the bags around his eyes.
He's got like wooden teeth when he's Billy, like
Just like
full
Billy did.
George Washington.
I think I read somewhere that George Washington's teeth were literally slave teeth.
Yeah, that sounds right.
The first American president died with slave teeth in his mouth. What a fucking terrible country. Michael leaps out of the darkness to strangle her and then realizes what he's doing and dives out the window. Do you guys recall the last time a man realized he was possessed and leapt out a window to protect a girl and landed at the foot of a staircase?
The Exorcist?
That's right.
Oh.
Back at the hospital, Michael is back in his bed again, and the doc and his parents are peeling back his bandages. He tells them all to leave.
An hour, it'll be too late. Michael, what are you saying?
Amanda shows up too, and Michael is furious that everyone keeps ignoring his warnings. Doc Schoonmaker has revealed the wrinkly skin over Michael's back scar and takes the seemingly inadvisable action of cutting open the wound with scissors. It's like, the skin is healed over. What are you doing? You're just taking scissors to a person's back? Why are you doing that? Let it heal. Cover it up. Michael says he tried to kill himself to protect them from what he's going to become, and he begs them to finish the job.
He's gone crazy.
Who, Michael?
Kill me or you won't be able to stop him. Kill me. Michael. Kill me. Kill me.
Let's strap him down.
Kill me. Michael. Kill me. Michael. Kill me. Kill me.
Sometime later, Michael is tied to the bed and starts convulsing. Horace loads a shotgun in another building, and he tells the judge that he's going to kill that boy to keep him away from his daughter. Horace says that they can just claim the boy was another victim of the local maniac. Michael starts seizuring, and the doctor tries to jam something in the boy's mouth to keep him from biting off his tongue, and then Michael slowly passes out. The sheriff, deputy, and Eli all head to the abandoned farmhouse that Michael described to them, and they find the skeleton of Billy Connors in the basement dungeon. His skull is all deformed and alien-looking. We cut again to Amanda, finally taking Michael's advice and driving out of town. She plows through a bunch of signs for road construction, and then we cut back to the hospital. It's like, what are you doing?
Well, yeah, first of all, I don't know how she didn't see the flashing lights in front of her.
It reminds me of Wet Hot American Summer, when he's just singing and driving, and then just out of nowhere veers off the side of the road into a tree.
But the whole time she's driving before that, she's like, leave town. You gotta leave town. Fine, I will. Like, it's like, why are you having this attitude?
Weird. Back at the hospital, Michael's face looks very different now, and he starts shuddering again. He tears his straps from the bed, and a foot-long worm-like tongue extends from his mouth. His head is stretching out in all directions, with makeup bladder effects causing his back wound to pulsate and open. He drools thick slime, and bubbles grow under the skin of his face. Everyone's just standing here watching this transformation for several minutes.
Yeah.
Even Horace, who came here with a shotgun to kill this boy, and now he's turning into a monster in front of you, and you're just watching.
Everyone's telling him to shoot him.
Right. On one particular cut, Michael's face seems completely replaced with a giant inflated head nearly at the point of bursting. When Michael stands, Horace finally pulls the shotgun trigger to kill him with a couple shots, but they don't finish the job, and then he tackles Horace against the wall. Michael jumps out the window with Horace, and the cops find his corpse moments later hanging in the branches of the trees outside. Nearby, we see Michael's molted skin hanging in other branches. I love that shot of the face just hanging there on the edge of the branch.
Yeah, hollow.
It shed its skin like a cicada.
The judge wanders shell-shocked back to his home, takes off his wig, and gets in his car to leave town forever.
So, okay. So we haven't really mentioned it much, but
the bad wig?
No, the cicada through line that's supposed to be happening here. Like, you keep hearing cicada sounds.
Every time he freaks out.
Every time he's Billy. And, you know, then they say it here. But I'm like, if you see something like molted or like shed its skin, is the first thing you think of a cicada?
Yes. No, obviously not. No,
I don't
snakes.
think so. Like, would think of a snake first. But
some kind of a lizard. But I think that we're also the 17-year period is supposed to be a cicada reference.
Yeah.
Because
that's why it's good we're watching it this year, because we got like the super cicada thing happening right now where we have two.
Oh, is that happening right now?
Yeah, it's a 17-year and a 13-year. It only happens every like 200 and I don't know, 30. I can't do
Aren't we
math.
supposed to like invest in sesame seeds or some shit? What was the
What?
in Silicon Valley where the guy was like, he tells them to go get him a burger from the local fast food place, and he's like researching everything about the burger, and what he lands on that's interesting is that these sesame seeds are grown in this certain region, and that there's blooms in population of cicadas, different species of cicadas, and they happen to overlap this one year. So he shorts the company that sells these sesame seeds because they're going to be swarmed with cicadas and they're not going to have any stock for the year. And he makes like millions of dollars because he just drilled down and researched into every factor of this one fast food meal that they got him.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's happening now. So buy sesame.
Or
No,
sell,
don't
sell sesame.
sell. Well, no, because sesame's going to be
Open
high price.
sesame.
Okay, there you go.
Michael, the were-cicada, rises beside the driver's side window of the judge's car and smashes the windshield open, so the judge skids away back to the police station. Why to the police station?
Yeah.
Just keep driving.
Yeah, exactly.
We haven't seen this thing run faster than a car yet, although apparently it probably can. The judge tells the police that he is the last of the Curwins and he needs to be locked up in a jail cell to be safe from this monster. Eli demands to know what caused all this, or he'll feed Judge Curwin to the monster.
Not your decision to make.
Yeah, the policeman's not going to be like, yeah, go ahead, feed this guy to a monster. No, you're under arrest. You go in the jail cell. Eventually, the man explains everything. Lionel Curwin had a beautiful wife, Sarah, but thought marital sex was a sin. Sarah left him for Billy, and Lionel caught them together. He locked Billy up and starved him for weeks, and then he threw Sarah's corpse down the steps for the man to eat in the basement. And that's what we saw that clip of earlier. The basement door opened and he shoved a woman's body down the steps. For the next few years, Billy survived exclusively on bodies that Lionel stole from the local graveyard and replaced with rocks. Michael arrives again at the police station and punches his way inside despite a healthy bombardment of shotgun fire. Sheriff Poole gives Judge Curwin the keys to lock the cell like he wanted. They assure him he's safe in there when suddenly Michael's arms come bursting through the concrete wall to wrap around Judge Curwin's head and yank it back through the hole. He tears the man's head fully off of his neck, and the rest of the group move outside to follow the monster. Probably not what I would do.
No.
How about we stay in here?
Yeah. It's like, well, he got what he wanted, so
Yeah.
we're done now?
Yeah. Seems invincible. Seems pretty murderous. I'm just going to hang out here for a while.
I'm not a Curwin. I'm good.
Yeah. We cut back to Amanda in the middle of the road beside her wrecked car.
Yeah, I guess she got thrown.
I guess. She's stumbling back to her vehicle when the were-cicada arrives and she screams and runs into the woods. The monster follows her away and she keeps tripping and knocks herself out again, the same way that the mom did at the beginning of the story. Again, the monster tears off the girl's clothing and rapes her near to death. Doc Schoonmaker and company find the girl here and collect her to rush her back to a hospital. Eli finds the monster hiding in the mud and they start wrestling each other until the creature bends Eli's arm hard around the back of his head. Do you guys recall the last time we saw Ronny Cox's arm bent this far behind his neck?
I mean, I'm going to say Deliverance.
Yeah. Do you remember that?
I don't, but...
He got shot and then he fell out of the boat, and then when they picked him up, his arm was all cricked behind his head because he could actually do that. He can dislocate his arm. So they used it for both movies. The creature strangles Eli in the mud until Caroline walks up with a shotgun and fires it point blank into the monster's head, exploding it.
Yeah, the full Brundlefly.
How come nobody shot at the head earlier?
Gotta shoot him on the head.
They've hit it with like 12 shotgun blasts, and none of them aimed for the head.
Oh, when they first approach him in the mud, I thought he was burying himself.
Oh, okay.
Like
he was going to go down for another 17 years?
Yeah.
The couple cry together over their dead son or sort of son, and then we cut back to the abandoned farm for the credits to scroll over. That's the beast within.
I guess we're supposed to assume that the cycle will continue 17 years from now.
Yeah, because the girl survived it,
Yeah.
and she was impregnated, so presumably we would have had a movie between then and now. The third Beast Within should be coming to theaters soon.
So I think that this movie had some good ideas.
Yeah,
it had some good
I like
elements.
it. I like
think,
the mythology of it.
Yeah, but I don't think they did a very clear job with it. Like, I think it was really confusing, and they weren't very solid with that concept all the way through.
Yeah, I think that the history is a little bit muddled.
Yeah. I mean, I think like a movie that did a similar thing but did it better is like Jeepers Creepers. Because,
Sure.
it's like this I don't know. It was like a bug-like creature,
moth-like
right?
or something.
Yeah, and it emerged every so often to come out and kill people or whatever. Which I like that. I think it's a good concept, but I don't think that they did that. I don't think they did a great job with it.
Well, there's so many questions of, was Billy a monster before? Or
well,
did he
that's the part that kind of throws me
Yeah.
off. Is like, what brings the supernatural element to it?
Eating
'Cause
corpses.
Locking someone in a basement and feeding them corpses doesn't turn them into a cicada.
Yeah.
In my experience, the people I've done that to were just humans until they died.
Yeah, so I think that's part of the problem. Is like it's a little unclear what's going on.
Here's my theory. You want to hear my theory?
Yeah.
Is that Billy Connors was a cicada monster before he had sex with that guy's wife.
Just a coinky-dink.
He just by
That he got
coincidence
trapped in the
kidnapped a
basement.
cicada monster man. And,
Very cool.
And it's been every 17 years, there's a new generation of them.
And why was he keeping him alive?
To torture him.
Oh.
And why does Billy want to go out and rape people?
Why does Billy want to rape people?
Because he does at the beginning.
Well, I mean, cicadas come out
To
mate. And so I guess
This was presumably
He's just using his humanoid from the deep brain.
right. But I'm just saying. So at this point, he was a cicada monster man, and he was trapped in somebody's basement because we see the legs in that opening shot, and they're like monster legs of some sort. So like he's already
He had
a bug
transformed.
man.
Yeah.
And
his
got
skeleton,
out.
when they see it in the basement, is all fucked up.
Right.
So they must have recaptured him because he's back in that basement.
Right.
Yes.
And maybe those gunshots were them
Catching him.
and finishing him off.
Well, no, because he's in the basement at the
So
end.
it's
So he
locked
died in the
back up.
basement.
Right, but you
drag that corpse you just shot back to the basement.
well, I mean, what are you going to leave it out in the woods?
Put it in the pile
with
of
the
corpses.
pile of 40 bodies.
Put
you
it
got
in your corpse
yard.
bog.
Put it in the tea.
They already have a dedicated cemetery. They wouldn't be like, what are we going to do with this body? The only one that we would probably be totally justified in killing.
Yeah.
And also, was no one looking for Billy all this time?
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like everybody wasn't looking because they knew where he was. Like the whole town just knew, oh yeah, that guy that's allowed to do whatever he wants has him in his basement. I'm not going to fucking go over there.
But also, why kill everyone related to the people who did this to you?
Because they all knew.
They all.
The Curwin family seemed to know. It was an open secret.
Didn't have anything to
Amanda
do with it.
didn't
Amanda
know.
wasn't even born when this happened.
No, she is just getting it because she inherited the guilt. The same reason that, Father Malone is in trouble for the fog. It's like, he didn't do it. His grandpa did it.
Is that some original sin bullshit there?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because again,
Seriously though, why does she have to eat the fucking apple?
because again, like, where does it stop? I'm sure people have moved out of this town. Are you gonna go track down? You're gonna get the yellow pages and go, all right, I got some cicada road tripping to do.
I don't think anybody leaves this town. I think this is one of those towns where you just kind of sink further in until someone finds you in a bog.
Yeah, because they had a lot of people out working those bodies.
Yeah.
I guaranteed some of those people are related to the Curwin family.
Yeah,
in some
that's true.
way.
Yeah. Or maybe they're one of those family trees that's just kind of recursive. They're just connected to each other a lot.
It's just a Boab tree. It's just one trunk.
Goes straight up into the sky. There's a bunch of cicadas up at the top making a nest.
I like the idea of an insect monster guy.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Wasn't there something like this on the X-Files?
Probably.
Yeah, that sounds.
Because I remember the Tombs guy, the stretchy guy, had like a nest that he made.
Yeah.
But he wasn't like a full-on bug.
But no,
man.
but there was like a leech man.
Oh,
thing
yeah,
that had like a big sucker mouth.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like he looks enough like an insect. Like
He definitely doesn't look like a cicada.
Yeah, again, I reference he does look like early Brundlefly.
Sure.
Like when he's still kind of like a person.
Yeah.
But like when he's like fully transformed, Brundlefly looks totally like a giant insect creature.
He's full
he's slimy.
Baxter the Fly experience.
Yeah, he just seemed like he was like a slimy kind of monster.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't understand why he's so wet.
Why are you wet? Yeah, it's good stuff, though. I enjoyed it. I really like the visual effects. But we've already established that I'm a fan of Thomas Berman's visual effects work. Because those kills in My Bloody Valentine are amazing. Let's talk about some changes from the book. Or for the book, I guess I should say.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Billy Connors is Jimmy Connors in the book.
Why?
It's just like, you know what? Fuck your dumb movie. I'm going to change people's names willy-nilly. Or maybe Jimmy Connors was like the only thing that he'd decided before he like sold the title to his publisher. And he's like, I'm going to keep one part of what I wrote originally.
It's like the Doug Quaid versus Doug Quayle.
Right,
from, Total Recall.
The two different Total Recalls. The story starts in 1920, and it's very like Postman Always Rings Twice feel. We have the sex-starved Sarah wife who is seduced by a traveling salesman, Jimmy, when his car breaks down outside their farm. Her husband, Henry, not Lionel, Henry, catches them together and chains Jimmy up in the basement. Jimmy's down there for 20 years feeding on scraps and losing all sense of humanity until Henry dies in the house. And so Jimmy is down there alone, starving until he escapes. Jimmy attacks newlywed Carolyn outside her home and rapes her, but then Jimmy dies later the same night from a venomous snake bite in the woods.
What?
Because Carolyn was unconscious during the rape, she does not remember it and assumes that the resulting baby, Michael, is actually her husband's. 17 years later, the story of the film basically plays out the same way, except in the MacCleary's hometown instead of in another town that they're not familiar with. So they know everyone in the town where the story
Right, but
takes
then
place.
they wouldn't know that. So they don't know that she was raped at
Right.
all.
Right.
So that whole.
Only we know that reading the
But
story.
that whole investigation thing and like finding out
Right.
more about the guy, like none of that can happen.
Also, there's no supernatural element to it. There's no cicada monster transformation character.
Wait, what?
A bully attacks Michael one night, and Michael kills the kid and then tries to sneak his girlfriend out of town before he's caught. But when he picks her up, it turns out she lives in the same farmhouse where Michael's biological father spent decades in the basement, and he somehow knows this implicitly. I think I actually like it better that he was brought to the house instead of he was led there by dreams to some random house.
Yeah.
Yeah, and is talking to some past
Yeah,
version.
it's basically he's thinking like somehow he senses an ancestor was here and
Mm-hmm.
trapped here for a long time. But there's no cicadas or physical transformations happening in reality. All the dehumanization in the story is metaphorical and spiritual.
They took out the only interesting part about this movie.
Yeah, it's literally just a movie about generational trauma and a guy who was imprisoned in a house for a long time. That's what the book's about. It has nothing to do with head inflation.
Well, okay, then I'm glad the book came second because this it wasn't great, but it was definitely interesting.
Yeah. I think I give this a thumbs up. I actually really liked it.
I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. I think there's a lot of things that could be done better, but there were definitely things that I'm like, yeah, give it a watch.
Yeah.
Just for the monster transformations alone, give it a watch.
It's a thumbs down for me.
I knew it would be.
I just have too many questions about the rules.
I know all the answers if you want to ask them. I love just making shit up, pretending it's canon. Yeah, so that's The Beast Within. 3 thumbs up. What are we thinking?
That was not 3 thumbs
What are we
up.
thinking Letterboxd?
Don't misrepresent Richard's opinions. For some reason, I have it at number 8.
Okay. Out of how many?
Out of 18.
Okay.
Is below Jaws of Satan and above Vice Squad.
All right.
I bumped it up 1, so that should please you all.
17.
No. I was gonna make that joke, but I'm not gonna. No, I have it at 13th, which puts it below Butcher Baker, but above The Seduction.
Okay. I have it in 5th, which is just under Butterfly and just above Vice Squad.
We need some better movies this year, man. It's a bunch of clunkers.
It's the beginning of the year. It's always a big pile at the beginning of the year. Our director here was Philippe Mora. He previously directed Mad Dog Morgan, and we'll see his work next season for The Return of Captain Invincible, and later Howling to Your Sister is a Werewolf, Communion, that Christopher Walken alien movie.
Yeah.
And Pterodactyl Woman from Beverly Hills. The writer here was Tom Holland for the screen story and screenplay, not that Tom Holland. This was his first feature screenplay. He's back this season with Class of 1984, and later he writes Psycho 2 and Cloak and Dagger. He wrote and directed Fright Night, Child's Play, the Langoliers miniseries, and Thinner. We'll also see him in Psycho 2 as a character. He plays Deputy Norris in that film. He also wrote and directed episodes of anthology series like Amazing Stories, Tales from the Crypt, and Masters of Horror. And his IMDb page has a Beast Within remake, last edited 2017, which lists him as the director also. But I don't think that'll ever happen. I'd watch it, though.
Honestly, I think if somebody redid this movie, it could be pretty good.
The novelist was Edward Levy, or Levi, and this is his only IMDb credit, probably because he wrote a novelization of, he's written like 3 books, and one of them was based on a script because he didn't write the book in time. The music here came from Les Baxter. This was his last feature-length score and one of his favorites from his career. He has composer credits dating back to the early 50s. He's done work on old Lone Ranger films, the original Lassie series, Black Sunday, Reptilicus, The Pit and the Pendulum, and basically all of the Beach Party movies. The only score we've heard from him so far was Frogs, the Frogs score. Cinematographer Jack L. Richards previously lit On the Right Track for the show. Nothing else I recognized. One of the 2 editors was Robert Brown. He previously cut Damien, Omen 2, The Amityville Horror, and so far on the show Brubaker. Later he cuts Police Academy, Pope of Greenwich Village, The Lost Boys, Flatliners, Lethal Weapon 3, Free Willy 2, and The Ghost in the Darkness. The other editor credit was for Burt Lovett. He previously cut New York, New York, A Force of One, and so far on the show Harry's War. Later he cuts Amazon Women on the Moon, Days of Thunder, Predator 2, RoboCop 3, and uncredited work on Cutthroat Island and Ghost in the Darkness. Ronny Cox played Eli MacCleary. We saw him from one of his first films in our Patreon review of Deliverance, and more recently in Taps. He also appeared in The Car, and he's back this season for Some Kind of Hero, but he's best known for his roles in the Beverly Hills Cop series or in the first RoboCop as Dick Jones. He's also Cohagen in Total Recall, who refuses to give these people air. Cohagen! Give these people air! Bibi Besch played Caroline MacCleary. Before this, she shows up in Hardcore and Meteor. Later this season, she's back as Carol in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. I think that's the love interest for the
she plays Dr. Carol Marcus.
Right. She's Eve in The Day After. She's Belle Marmillion in Steel Magnolias, but my first thought will always be of Megan, the doctor's wife who gets entombed in a car underground in Tremors. She's also the mother of Princess Daisy herself, Samantha Mathis.
I did not know that.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Her mom was an actress too, old school, but I didn't recognize any of the titles. Paul Clemens played Michael MacCleary. As a huge horror fan, Clemens was ecstatic to be considered for this role and insisted on wearing all the makeup for the transformation scenes himself. Later, he shows up in A Murder, She Wrote, and he's one of the other alien abductees in that support group from Communion. When they're like, why'd you bring this guy in here to talk to us?
That's funny.
He's also the son of actress Eleanor Parker, who played the Baroness in The Sound of Music. Don Gordon played Judge Curwin. Before this, he shows up with McQueen in Bullet and Papillon. We saw him in the 80s as Dean, assistant to Sam Neill in Omen 3, The Final Conflict. We'll see him soon in Out of the Blue, and he's also back later in Lethal Weapon and The Exorcist 3. R.G. Armstrong played Doc Schoonmaker. We've seen him now as the judge in Where the Buffalo Roam. He was Rigby in Raggedy Man, Dempsey in The Pursuit of D.B. Cooper, and a government agent in Reds. He's back later this season for Hammett and Evilspeak. Later, he's General Phillips in Predator, and he reunites with Warren Beatty to play Pruneface in Dick Tracy.
I was just recently going through the cast of Dick Tracy. It's an incredible
really great,
group of people.
R.G. Armstrong also plays the Sandman in the Metallica music video for Enter Sandman. Catherine Moffat played Amanda Platt. She was Etana Joel in Star Trek TNG and Vatrik Palra in Star Trek DS9. She's also the voice of Scarlet Witch in 13 episodes of the 1990s Iron Man cartoon, and later she played Agent Moffat in Spy Hard. Her actual last name. I couldn't figure out why she was allowed to use her real last name. I was like, is she related to someone who worked on it or something? Did they write that for her? But Yeah, she's just goes by her own name. L.Q. Jones played Sheriff Poole. Love L.Q. Jones. He directed A Boy and His Dog. He wrote and directed A Boy and His Dog.
That's awesome. When's that coming up? Did we get the chance to do that one as a Patreon?
I think that's 75, so that would be next year.
I like that movie.
His birth name was Justice McQueen, and he took this stage name from his first feature credit playing Private L.Q. Jones in 1955's Battle Cry. Before this, he's in Hang 'em High, The Wild Bunch, and so far on the show, The Ballad of Cable Hogue and Mother Jugs and Speed. Later, he's in Lone Wolf McQuade. He's Pat Webb, the uncle of Joe Bob Briggs in Scorsese's Casino, but one of his more memorable turns for me was as Three-Fingered Jack in 1998's The Mask of Zorro. Logan Ramsey played Edwin Curwin. Before this, he played a studio guard in the Monkees movie Head. We've seen him now in Any Which Way You Can alongside his wife Anne Ramsey, with whom he occasionally co-stars, as in Richard Donner's Scrooged as the homeless couple from Claire's Shelter.
Yeah.
Listen here, you know, the rain by 4 nightfall of Chia. I swear, by thee I forswear. Oh, isn't that marvelous? Now beat it before I beat you.
Isn't marvelous?
He's also John Witter in the Walking Tall films, the original Walking Tall films. John Dennis Johnston played Horace Platt. He shows up in Annie Hall, Close Encounters, The Rose. We saw him last as Gilly in Backroads. Later, he's the co-pilot in the Twilight Zone movie for the Nightmare at 20,000 Feet segment, and he's in Pale Rider. Ron Soble played Tom Laws. He was Captain Boots Finch in True Grit. He's Charlie Beaudry in Chisholm, and we saw him recently as Santini in Papillon. He reunites with director Mora for Pterodactyl Woman from Beverly Hills, in which he plays Pablo Picasso. What?
Gotta see this movie.
His final IMDb credit is for an uncredited appearance as a judge in Deuce Bigalow Male Gigolo. Luke Askew, or Askew, played Dexter Ward. Before this, he shows up as Boss Paul in Cool Hand Luke and as Warden Renfro in Cool Hand Luke-esque MacGyver episode Jack in the Box. It didn't occur to me until looking that up that Warden Renfro might have been an intentional reference to Warden Renfro, who we saw in Brubaker from season 1 of this podcast. Askew is also in Will Penny, The Green Berets, Easy Rider before this. His final credit was as Hollis Green in 10 episodes of Big Love. And if it sounded familiar, his character name comes from an H.P. Lovecraft story, The Case of Charles Dexter Ward, in which the titular character resurrects his great-great-great-grandfather, Joseph Curwin, the name of the cursed family from this film. Meshach Taylor played Deputy Herbert, another Lovecrafty name. I always recognize him as Hollywood Montrose from the Mannequin movies.
That's right.
But he's also Dr. Kane in The Omen 2, and he's Anthony Bouvier in 152 episodes of Designing Women. He also does a voice in The Secret of Nim 2, which exists.
No.
No, it doesn't. Okay. I think that's everything we have for The Beast Within. If you have any thoughts you'd like to share, you can find all our socials at linktree/vintagevideopod. If you enjoy what we're doing, consider giving us a review on iTunes. I don't think it helps visibility, but it's good for morale. And if you really like the show, maybe you should join our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/vintagevideopodcast. What's that sound?
We got one!
That's right, it's a new patron, Ari Sky. As a $5 patron of the show, Ari now has access to 51 full-size 70s reviews and a hand in choosing next month's film. For June of 1974, our $5 patrons are currently choosing between the following 12 titles. Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter. Brian Clemens' Hammer horror title about a sword fighter and his hunchback companion hunting down vampires. It stars Horst Jansen, John Cater, Carolyn Monroe, and John Carson. Chinatown. Roman Polanski's neo-noir classic about private investigator Jake Gittes in 1930s Los Angeles investigating a simple adultery case that devolves into a much larger and more dangerous conspiracy. It stars Jack Nicholson, Faye Dunaway, John Huston, and John Hillerman. The Dion Brothers. Jack Starrett's crime comedy from a script by Terrence Malick about a pair of West Virginian brothers on the run from the law after robbing an armored car. It stars Stacy Keach, Frederick Forrest, and Margot Kidder. Frederick Forrest all over the place lately.
Yeah, it's big in this.
Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell. Terrence Fisher's Hammer horror Frankenstein story, the final installment of the Hammer Frankenstein films, based loosely on the works of Mary Shelley. It stars Peter Cushing, Shane Bryant, Madeline Smith, and David Prowse as the creature.
Nice.
Gatorbait. Beverly and Ferd Sebastian's action-adventure film starring Playboy playmate Claudia Jennings as a swamp-dwelling poacher who is pursued herself by the sons of a local sheriff and forced to defend herself. It also stars Douglas Dirksen, Bill Thurman, and Ben Sebastian, son of the married co-directors. The Groove Tube, Ken Shapiro's anthology comedy film featuring appearances from popular comedians of the mid-70s, including Richard Belzer, Chevy Chase, Buzzy Linhart, and Shapiro himself. Herbie Rides Again, Robert Stevenson's second installment to the Disney franchise following the adventures of Herbie the Love Bug. This time, Herbie's protecting an old woman from land developers looking to take ownership of her property. It stars Helen Hayes, Ken Berry, Stephanie Powers, and Keenan Wynn. It's basically the same story as Batteries Not Included.
Yeah, it's really strange.
Yeah.
Like I've seen it many times.
The 9 Lives of Fritz the Cat, Robert Taylor's adult anthology animated comedy sequel to the Ralph Bakshi Fritz the Cat film, adapted from the comic strip by Robert Crumb, practically unauthorized and involving none of the creatives behind the first film. It stars Skip Hinnant, Bob Holt, Louisa Moritz, and Robert Ridgely. The Parallax View, Alan J. Pakula's conspiracy thriller about a reporter investigating a political assassination and uncovering a global corporate conspiracy. It stars Warren Beatty, Paula Prentice, William Daniels, and Hume Cronin. SPYS, Irving Kershner's action comedy reteaming Altman's MASH duo for the story of 2 spies who fumble a mission so poorly that they find themselves targeted by multiple international intelligence agencies. It stars Elliot Gould, Donald Sutherland, Juju, and Joss Ackland. 3 the Hard Way, Gordon Parks Jr.'s blaxploitation action film about a squad of expert martial artists protecting the nation's water supply from a toxin developed by white supremacists to kill black people. It stars Fred Williamson, Jim Brown, and Jim Kelly. Or Where the Red Fern Grows, Norman Tokar's family drama from the novel by Wilson Rawls about a young boy and his hunting dogs. It stars James Whitmore, Beverly Garland, Jack Ging, and Lonnie Chapman for a 50th anniversary review next month. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you'll join us next time when we'll be discussing The Border, which IMDb describes like so. A corrupt border agent decides to clean up his act when an impoverished woman's baby is put up for sale on the black market. We leave you now with the trailer for The Border.
I ain't in this for murder, you hear me? No way that I'm in this for murder.
There's some real big money on the table. Smart man, he's gonna play his cards right tight up against his chest.
You're killing drivers, and don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, because if I don't know what I'm talking about, where's the driver you took in there today? See this line? This line right here I don't cross. This line right here.
Within every man, there are 2 men.
There's times when I feel like there's a whole other person in there. Just isn't the Charlie Smith that I married.
One who does what he's told to. Game's a little different around here. There's some real big money on the table. One who does what he has to.
I don't care about your money. Well, your life is gonna be fine. Listen, you and I ever get involved in murder. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Within every man, there is a difference.
No, senor. You don't owe me anything.
Between what he sees is wrong.
But I just left him on the other side with Adam's apple all over his chest.
And what he knows is right.
Hold it right there.
What do you want, boy?
I'm looking for that kid you took off the truck.
Within every man, there is a distance.
I want to feel good about something sometime.
Between how far he's come.
We take care of business, Charlie. That's all we do. We take care of business.
And how far he'll go.
See this line? This line right here I don't cross. This line right here.
Within every man, there is a border.
I need the riot gun.
Once he crosses it, there's no going back.
How you doing, Charlie? Charlie's never been better, Red.
Jack Nicholson. The border. It divided the land. It divided the man.